announcing its support for an overhaul of the immigration system. The bill, proposed by 2 GOP senators, aims to cut legal immigration to the U.S. by half over 10 years. Not all Republicans are in favor.
And I don't want an economy that doesn't recognize how diverse we are as a nation. And to take all the green cards and put them in one end of the economy is just, I think, ill-advised, and I can't support that. You just don't want every green card holder to be a computer engineer, because the economy of America is more than just computer and high tech.
All right, joining us now to discuss this, President of the Federation for American Immigration Reform, also known as FAIR, Dan Stein, and Political Director of Our Revolution and former National Press Secretary for Latino Outreach for the Bernie Sanders campaign, Erica Andiola. Great to have both of you here. Dan, make the case for why the administration should cut legal immigration by half over the next decade.
Well, thanks, Carol. Look, it's a great opportunity for the Republican Party to consolidate its political gains in those blue states that enabled Trump to win on this issue. Major campaign promise of President Trump. Great that he's embraced the bill. Look, what the bill does, 4 things. Makes immigration manageable by decreasing unskilled immigration and enables us to actually, as the American people, select how many come every year. Makes it affordable. By decreasing unskilled immigration, it decreases the welfare burdens and the tremendous cost of low-skill immigration. It helps the American worker by stopping the unfair labor competition. You know, Chuck Schumer stands up and talks about the threat of foreign labor competition in the context of trade, but the Democrats have abandoned any concern about how immigration is affecting American wages and working conditions. So it makes it more, it really puts the American worker first, which is a big part of the Trump promise. And it also makes immigration serve the American people and our priorities to make immigration once again great for America, not special interest on Wall Street and not as the life support system for the American political left.
Yeah, I mean, before I get to you, Erica, Dan, I just don't know that the facts support what you're saying. I mean, you heard Lindsey Graham saying that cutting this amount of legal immigrants would devastate his state because of the service industry, the tourism industry, and the agriculture industry. That's who takes these jobs, and his state of South Carolina and many states need those people to take those jobs. Quickly, your response.
I mean, look, remember, the American middle class has been decimated by low-skill competition and international trade. There's 2 reasons wages are stagnant. One is productivity, for reasons people don't quite understand. The second reason is the massive artificial increase in labor supply through uncontrolled immigration for the last, 30, 40 years. Look, remember, this bill represents the best thinking of recommendations from commission after commission after commission, Barbara Jordan, Theodore Hesburgh, for the last 40 years. It is good public policy.
Okay. Erica, your response.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time to stop scapegoating immigrants when it comes to this entire conversation. Trump started his campaign saying that, the reason why the American people, cannot find jobs is because of immigrants, and that's not the reality. The reality is that there's so many other things that we can do in this country. I did work in the Bernie campaign. We talked about actually creating a $15 minimum wage, actually having protection for workers, and stop talking about immigrants as if we are the ones that are pinned against
just
each other.
address what Dan is saying specifically, that he's saying that the economy and that wages have been depressed because there's been this influx and flood of immigrants.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the fact is that we do need immigrants to come and pick the food that we eat every single day. We need people to actually have an opportunity to come here escaping violence. We need refugees to be able to have somewhere to go. And the fact is that this bill does exactly the opposite. It actually goes against what this country is about. It's actually opening its arms to people who are seeking refuge. My mother is one of those people. My mother actually came from Mexico. I came from Mexico. My mother is a victim of domestic violence. And the fact is that we applied for a visa, and we couldn't find a way to come to this country. And this is the only way that we could come here. And this is what this country is about. And this bill, it does exactly the opposite of it.
In fact, our White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, had this very exchange about this philosophy of what the country was founded on with Stephen Miller, one of the White House advisors. Let me just play a little portion of it for you.
The Statue of Liberty has always been
let me ask you a
beacon
question.
of hope to the world, for people to send
do you believe,
people to this country, and they're not always going to speak English, Stephen.
Jim,
they're not
do you
always
believe,
going to be highly skilled. They're not always going to be
Jim, I appreciate your speech. Jim, I appreciate your speech. So let's talk about this.
So there's the philosophy, right, Dan? And then there are the numbers. I mean, the hard data on this. So let me just pull up a full screen for you and for our viewers about what immigrants contribute to the economy, right? So 2.9, about 3 million foreign-born entrepreneurs, okay? So there is all sorts of data that immigrants create small businesses. They generated $65.5 billion in 2014, okay? So that would obviously be decreased. Immigrants represent 13% of the U.S. population, but they make up 20% of all entrepreneurs in the country. So obviously they are doing more than their share. Nearly 6 million workers are employed at immigrant-owned businesses, and 40% of firms on Fortune 500 lists were founded by immigrants or the children of immigrants. That's a good track record, Dan.
Allison, and again, I'm sorry, Allison, look, immigration is a broad and complex issue that certainly served many different interests, but right now, and we don't agree with a lot of those data, but right now what we have is an immigration system that doesn't work for the American people. Obviously, if you're going to admit a haystack, you're going to get a few needles who are entrepreneurs and people who might expand our productive potential. But in the end, we need to modernize our immigration system by restoring traditional levels of immigration, bringing it back down to the proper levels that we can absorb and assimilate so that wages go up, American workers can live the American dream again. Innovation is spurred because of the labor tightening effects of less immigration. All these great things would happen if we would reduce immigration, but it's hard to get past the special interest pressure. The Democratic Party now relies on immigration for its future electoral support.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and the
look,
Republican Party is beholden to the
Democrat.
financial sector of Wall Street, and it's hard for the American people to get their voices heard.
Look, Congress is not filled with just Democrats, as you know, and lots of Republicans don't support this. Erica, I just want to give you the last word in the remaining seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we do need to fix our immigration system, but this is not the way to do it. And if we want people to come here in a way that they're not going to risk their lives crossing the desert like my family did, we need to find a way to open our arms to people who are coming here to work, to pick our food, and to also work in companies. And so we cannot close the door to immigrants because this is what this country has been about for so many years. And even your ancestors were probably perhaps people who came here without speaking English and who found a way.
Oh, well, for sure, mine, and I'm sure Dan's as well. I mean, this country was founded on immigrants.
Mine followed the law. Mine respected the law.
Well, this is about legal immigration, Dan.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying
this is about legal immigration.
The law.
But yeah,
it's all about our values.
We all follow the law.
People.
I mean, this is
just fact.
This is what we're talking about: legal immigration being reduced by 50%. But we have to leave it there. Erica, Dan, thank you very much for the debate. Chris.